Okay, so we have this program, and we're going to learn some debugging tricks. And we have now you can if you don't have all the toolbars, you can go to View, Toolbars, and make sure you have these two, and then you can customize them over here, or you can get to the same customizing here. Click on that, and then this, and then this, and you click on Debug, and if you don't have the right set of buttons up here, you can select them from here and drag them up there. So for example, I have the autos, have that. Anything I want to add here? Well, if you wanted to add something, I think I already have this, but maybe I don't. No, I do, I have it. But if you wanted to add it, you could just do that. Now what did I do? Add two of them? Seems like I added two of them, so maybe I don't want to do that. But anyway, you can add them this way. I guess I can drag it off. Okay. Okay, so we have this, and you can always get the buttons you need. So we are going to follow these steps, and these steps, and these steps, and here, 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 to there. Okay. So we need the Debug Tool Bar as well as the standard toolbar. So let's start debugging by clicking here. And we have this. And if we type in 14 here, and we get you're a teenager, which is fine. But we saw that when we did 13, oops, what happened? We get you're not a teenager, which is wrong. So this is an error, and then you want to ask yourself which kind of error is it. So you want to ask yourself, is it which of the three types of errors is it? Is it a syntax error or a compiler error? Is it a runtime error, or is it a logic error? So the program clearly ran, so it's not a syntax or compiler error. And there was no error when we ran it, like we didn't, when I pressed test, there was no error. So it's not a runtime error, but it is an error, so it's going to be a logic error. Okay, so we're going to quit here. And we're going to put a breakpoint in here as we've done before. And we're going to put a breakpoint right here. Age equals textbox1.text. So we want to stop the program before it starts doing things that we're not sure are right, and then we're going to go step by step. So now we'll run the program, but it's going to stop at the breakpoint, like that. So the program is running, but it's stopped in the middle. Now we are in the, we've run to here. Now if we type in 13 and click test, I'm sorry, we weren't running before, but now we are. So the statement now that we set the breakpoint at is now highlighted in yellow. And there's an arrow, a yellow arrow there as well. And this means that this has not been run yet. And we can also tell that it's in debugging mode because it says debugging up here. Now, we also saw that we could have done this by putting the word stop just above this, and it would stop there. So to prove that we haven't run this statement yet, because if we had run this statement, the yellow one, then age should be set to whatever we typed in, which I typed in 13. So age should be set to 13, but let's see what age is actually equal to at this point. The way you can do that is put the mouse pointer over the age variable. So try to do that. Put the mouse pointer over the age variable, and you'll see that age is currently 0. Now if you put the mouse pointer over here, you can see that the text box 1.text is set to 13. That's we already put that in there, so it's already set to 13. Okay, now if we want just one line to be run, we can click the Step Into button, which is up here, this one here, Step Into. So if I click that once, then the current line of code, the yellow line, is going to be run. It hasn't been run yet, but we're going to run it now. So when I do that, I expect that this, which was 13, will be transferred to age, so age should become 13. Okay, so now the next line that hasn't been run is here, but this is now has been run. It's in red because we have the dot there. So it just tells us that that's where the breakpoint is, but it's already been run, and so age now is 13. So by clicking this Step Into button here, we can see how the state of the different variables has changed as a result of one more line of code. So we can see how the state of the different variables and basically the state of the program has changed as a result of running one more line of code. So this is obviously helpful when you're doing debugging. Okay, now we can also look at kind of a number of different variables at the same time and see what their current state is, which can be useful. And we use what's called the Autos window. So if you don't have this button here, you should add it, this one here called the Autos window. And I'll click that. And down here now you can see that we have a bunch of different variables and text boxes, and we can see their current state. For example, text box 1, its current state is text equals 13, which is correct, right, because we put in 13. And text box 1.text is equal to, so this is telling us that a property of text box 1. I guess we might be able to get a bunch of different properties of text box 1 here. The most relevant one for us is the first one, text equals 13. And then it also tells us specifically text box 1.text equals 13. And here's text box 2, and its current text is nothing because it hasn't been, we're supposed to get a message in there, but we haven't gone far enough in the code to get that message. And it says here that it's nothing. And the age is also shown. Age is 13. We put 13 in the, and we've already read. We put 13 into text box 1, and we've already gone through that line of code which assigns it to age. So now age is 13. And E and sender are part of up here. These variables, here's E and sender, and it tells us some stuff about those as well, sender and E. Okay, now suppose that we want to go further in the code and see what happens. So if I hit Step Into 2 more times, what's going to happen? Well, this line of code is going to run. Now age is currently, what did we say? Age is 13. So this part is not going to be true. age is not greater than 13. But this part will be true, but this is an AND statement. An AND statement, in order to be true, has to have both parts true, and this part won't be true. So this whole statement, conditional expression, will not be true. So then we won't go into this consequence. We'll go instead to the else. We'll go to here, and then if I do it again, then text box 2 will be set to "you are not a teenager," and we should be able to see the results of that in the autos window. So let's try it and see. What do we expect the autos window to, how do we expect it to change? Age won't change. Text box 1 won't change. Text box 2, though, the text value should change to what? To "you're not a teenager," and E and sender probably won't change. Okay, so let me do it once, and we get to the else statement, because this was not true. And then do it one more time. No, I'll have to do it 2 more times, I guess. But one more thing before we do it one more time. Let's do one other thing. So we already saw that age is 13 currently. You can also see here age is 13 currently. You can also see here. You can also see text box 1 is 13. You can see that text box 2 is currently empty. But there's one more thing you can check, and that is, remember, is this true or false? This is false. Is this true or false? This is true, right? So let's, if you select this and then put the pointer over it, you see that age is greater than 13 is false. And if you select this one and you put the pointer over it, you can see that age is less than 20 is true. So the pointer has given us some additional information. We can see that the first condition is producing the incorrect result, just this one here, because we don't want it to be false, but this is false. And so that forces us to go to this part of the conditional statement, of the if-then statement, if-then-else statement, and that's so we get "you are not a teenager." So actually, before we go on, let's fix the error. And now that we've kind of located it, and then try this again. So let's stop debugging and change this to this. Right? Now it's true. Now it's correct, rather. So now we can run it again, debugging. And what you should do once you think you fixed the problem is check all of the kind of boundary conditions or fringe cases. So in other words, we know that 13 is a kind of fringe case. It's right at the boundary of when it's true and when it's false. And also, for example, you might want to check 12 and see how it responds at 12. And maybe how it responds at 14, but we already did that. And also at 19, because that's another boundary case, like 20 was a boundary case, 19, and maybe 21. So that's usually how you want to test your programming. If you really want to do a good job, you need to check all the border cases to see if it's doing what you expect it to do. And the way you do that is, so let's, like, we put in 12, and we test it. And we look at the autos window and see what the values are, and then we can step into it here, not step over, step into, and see what happens. So age was 12, so this was false, but that's good. And then we run it again, another line, and we see now that text box 2 says you're not an integer. I'm sorry, you're not a teenager. Okay, so after you've tested the various border cases, you can stop the debugger, and you've successfully used a debugging mode to find and correct a logic error in the program. So you can stop it, and you've basically fixed your program. Okay, so now we want to learn a few more techniques for debugging. And one of the auto window, we saw it's very useful, but one problem is that as soon as we move out of this sub, we may have other subs that we have, the auto window will not show this variable anymore because this variable was defined within this sub, and it won't show maybe this anymore, or it might, but it might not show all the things we want, because anything that was defined only within here, anything that only has the scope within here, will not be shown by the autos window. So sometimes we would prefer to see things even though they're not in the current scope. So we can use other windows for that. So he says the autos window is useful for examining the state of certain variables and properties as they're evaluated by the compiler. But items in the autos window persist or maintain their values only for the current statement, the statement highlighted in the debugger, and the previous statement, the statement just executed. When your program goes on to execute code that doesn't use these variables, they disappear from the autos window. Okay, to view contents of variables and properties throughout the execution of a program, you need to use a watch window, a special Visual Studio tool that tracks important values for as long as you're working in debugging mode. In Visual Studio, you can open up 4 watch windows numbered watch 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you're in debugging mode, you can open these windows by pointing to the Windows command on the debug menu, pointing to watch, and then clicking the window you want to watch. Okay, so let's try that. So we're going to go through these steps. Here, here. Okay, so let's do that. So let's go back to here and start debugging again. We get the program, and let's type in 20, and then click test, and the program stops. I can get this to move. Okay, so the program stops here. Okay, now suppose that we want to watch this variable. This is one of the variables that we want to keep track of throughout the whole execution of the program. So one way to add this, we have, let's see up here, watch window, but one way to add to the watch window is just to select the thing that you want to add, so age, and then right click on it and add watch. Okay, so now we have the watch window here showing up, and we have age. Now mine, I have some from before, I guess. Okay, so I cleaned that up. So anyway, you have age. Age is the current value of age is 0 because it hasn't been assigned yet. And we also have the type of variable that age is. Okay, suppose we also want to watch textbox2.text to see what's happening to that. So you could just do what we just did, which was select it and then right click on it like this, but you can also select it and drag it. So if I select it and drag it into the watch window, I can also enter it into the watch window like that. And suppose I also want to examine the expression age is less than 20. So this one. So I can add this one to here as well. So this is a Boolean expression, and we can see that it's a Boolean expression, and it's currently set to true. Age is still 0. So now we're set up to track these various variables as we step through the program. So you can step through, you can either click this button here, or you can press F8 on the keyboard. So I'll click here. So now age before was 0, but now it's 20 because I had typed in 20. Textbox2 is still empty because it hasn't been assigned yet. That's not until here or here. And age less than 20 is now false. It was true because age was 0 before, but now age is 20, so it's false. Okay, let's hit this button again. Step into. Has anything changed? No, because this was evaluated as false, so we skipped to here. So this was not run, so textbox2 is still empty. Let's hit it again. Okay, now we're here. We ran the else part, but we haven't run this yet, so it's still empty. Textbox2 is still empty. Let's hit it one more time. Step into one more time. Now we've run this statement, and so textbox2 text property is now you are not a teenager. That is, this has been run. So that's what we want to happen. So it seems correct. So since we're satisfied that it's running properly, we might say, well, we don't need to watch this anymore. So we don't need to check this. This has been should be false, and it is false. So you can just click on the age thing and then hit the delete key, or you can do it this way and delete it like that. So you can see that adding and removing values to the from the watch window is easy and fast, and could be very useful for tracking what's going on in the program. Okay, now we're going to do one more, do something else using visualizers for debugging. Now, actually, I'm not so sure why this is very useful, but let's just go through a quick one here. So if you look on at the watch window here, and you look at the right side over here, you'll see that this has a little magnifying glass here. And this is how you can bring up so-called visualizers. And this has 3 types of visualizers. We're not using either of these because we don't have HTML and we don't have XML. So we just use this one. And basically, it's just going to show you what this looks like in a text box. So it looks like that. So I'm not sure why that's very useful, but you might find some use for it. Okay, let's close that. And now let's talk about the immediate window, which we've used before when we did some debugging. We had the debug.write statement. We used it then. But let's go back and review that now. So one way to bring this up is in this bar up here, you should have, or if you don't, you can add it, the immediate window. So you click here, and you get the immediate window. And remember that this allows you to execute code as you're running the program. So we can write some new code, put it in here, and see what happens. And that can be easier than starting the program, stopping it, writing code, or I should say stopping the program, starting it, writing code, whatever, writing code, and then testing it. So you can test it sort of in the middle of running the code, running the program. So it basically prepares the compiler to receive commands while the debug test program is running. So you don't have to put new program statements in the code editor in here. You don't have to do it. So for example, right now age is equal to 20, but if I want to test what happens when age is equal to 17, I can type that here, and that will reset the age variable equal to 17, and I hit enter, and now age is currently equal to 17, okay, instead of 20. So age here is now 17, and age here is of course now 17, and notice one thing here, that this did not change. This is still 20 because this gets its value from, I just set age equal to 17. I didn't set this equal to 17. Okay, now suppose I want to say change the text box 2 dot text to you're a great age. So I can type that here in the immediate window. Like that, and hit enter. Whoops, what happened? I need that, not I need the text property. Like that, and hit enter. And now I can test the results by looking at the watch window. So how do we get that? Here. And now I can see that these values have changed. Now if I want to see what text box 1 is, I can put that in the watch window as well. And I can see that that is still 20, and that's because, as we said, we changed age. We didn't change text box 1. Okay, so this is these are some handy tools for doing debugging. We use this step into repeatedly. We use the watch window. We use the autos window, and we use I think we use the locals window, or you can test that anyway, and the immediate window. Okay? Alright, the next video will be about catching errors and handling errors so that the program doesn't crash if there is an error. So if someone maybe types in the name of a file that doesn't exist, instead of having the whole program crash, you can have some kind of error handler to just display some kind of message but not crash the program.